right, this is Dr. Mark at Phoenix Chiropractic in our continuing endeavor to educate and inform our clients and potential clients. We're going to go over the chiropractic premise and how chiropractic works, why people are in pain, and what we as chiropractors do about it. Okay, so we're going to do some developmental anatomy and physiology first to kind of lay the groundwork. When we're conceived, the brain is formed first in the womb, and then a spinal cord runs down out of the brain, and little branches start growing off the spinal cord. They're called nerve buds in the womb. They turn into nerves. And then organs form at the end of the branch. The heart is the first to form, and the stomach, and the spleen, and the kidneys, and the liver, and the gallbladder. There's a physical connection between the heart and the brain and the heart. That's how they talk to each other. And the same goes for all these other organs. Okay, and then nature provides protection for this brain by a skull growing around that brain. And then vertebrae start growing around the spinal cord. And most of us will have 24 of these vertebrae. That varies. Some people will have one more or less, but 24 is the normal amount. All right, and there's a set of nerves that come out between every set of bones. Okay? So these upper two vertebrae, they're responsible for nerve flow to the head and to the brain. And then our limbs will form. The arms form, and then the legs. And there's nerves that run into those legs. And when we want to move our leg, the brain sends a message down the spinal cord, out the vertebrae, down the leg, and we contract that leg muscle. That's the motor nerve. And then there's the sensory nerve. That's when we step on the rock or we put our hand on the hot stove, we know to remove that part from that sharp object. That's the sensory. So motor and sensory nerves. Now, these vertebrae will go out of place frequently. We call that a subluxation. Bone out of place. Big fancy term for bone not in its correct spot or not moving correctly. Okay, and bad things go on with subluxation. First, the muscles can spasm. All right, the muscle attaches into the bone. So I get people all the time, they go, Dr. Mark, I don't know if I should be here, I just have some muscle spasm. And I say, well, the muscle and the bone are related, so we're going to find subluxation in that area where the muscles are spasmed. Okay? All right? Second thing is the bone. The bone can wear abnormally. It's like when your car's out of alignment, the tread will wear abnormally. Same with the bone. Over time, the bone can wear incorrectly and form bone spurs. Well, most people have heard that term, bone spurs. Abnormal bony growth. It happens in the heel. It also happens in the spine. Happens because the bone is wearing incorrectly. Third thing is the disc. The cushion between the bone can get lessened, right? Instead of being nice, independently moving bones where there's cushion, the bone is stuck or out of position, then that disc can die because the disc gets nutrients through the normal motion of bone. So when the bone and disc start getting damaged and less space for that disc, that's called osteoarthritis. That's the wear and tear arthritis. That's the kind of arthritis somebody wakes up in the morning, takes them a half hour to get loosened up. Osteoarthritis. This has its genesis 20 years before it kind of comes home to roost or manifests. So typically osteoarthritis will start at around age 45 to 60. And people go, I don't know what the deal is. I haven't been doing anything. I just, can't even get out of bed that well anymore. And then we sometimes have to have a chat about what they were doing 20 years before. Oh yeah, I was a football player or a rugby person, or I had an automobile crash. Subluxation happened, things started percolating, and now they've manifested. All right? And so that's why it's a good idea for people at a younger age to come in to get their spines looked after, because they're kind of investing in the health of their spine for what's going to happen 20 years from now. Okay? So they may not have a lot of pain at age 25, but if things sit wrong for 25 years, 20 years, whatever, then they can have this kind of scenario with osteoarthritis. Last thing will be the nerve can get irritated, inflamed, pinched, whatever phrase you want to use. So when the nerve is inflamed, there can be pain, there can be tingling, there can be pins and needles, there can be numbness. Any or all those. Mostly tingling, pins and needles, and numbness is a tip-off to the chiropractor. There's a nerve that's there's an issue with the nerve. Okay, so we're going to be looking for subluxation. Chiropractors, we don't fix things. We don't fix back pain or fix headaches. We correct subluxation, and then the body does the healing that it can do. And hopefully that person is living a pretty healthy lifestyle, and their body then can do the healing that it's meant to be doing. Okay? All right. So the big idea with chiropractic is when we adjust the vertebrae, that opens up not nerve flow only to muscles, but also to the organs. And there was a researcher in the 1930s, Dr. Windsor, who did a bunch of autopsies on people. He found the cause of death on 200 people, and he postulated, I wonder if that organ that failed and the cause of death, I wonder if that area of the spine where that nerve fed into is damaged, which was a brilliant kind of a synopsis or observation or hypothesis. So he researched, and he found that where people had died of heart failure, there was a high preponderance of damage in the upper thoracic spine, which is where that nerve comes out of the spine to go to the heart. If they died of some kind of a liver or stomach issue, he checked the middle thoracic, which feeds the nerves to those organs. He found a lot of damage in the spine. There was a high correlation to damage in the spine and the organ that failed and the cause of death. So what can we take from that? Well, we can make the summation or possibility that what we do by helping the spine be right could help the person function better, maybe live longer. And that's an area of research that still needs to be done. Because there's not been a ton of research with that, we can't dismiss it as not being a fact. And for thousands of years, there's been acupuncture, and there has been no definitive proof that acupuncture meridians existed. Well, now there's technology out there that has found that the acupuncture meridians match exactly what those acupuncture meridians were drawn in caves 3,000 years ago. So oftentimes the mystics are ahead of the scientists by thousands of years. Okay? So it's been my observation that when we correct things, that the body does function more. That's a big point of controversy for even amongst chiropractors. Some chiropractors will say we're just musculoskeletal specialists, that's it. And then others will have this other view that we do more than that by correcting the spine. Okay, then lastly we're going to talk about how I work. And to do that, we're going to talk a little physics. There's a physics equation, force equals mass times acceleration. All right, mass is mostly weight, acceleration is mostly speed. So speed times weight equals force. 80% of chiropractors, they get on you with their hands and they're adjusting you. That's called a manual adjustment. It's very high mass and relatively slow acceleration or speed. I use an instrument to move the bones. It's very fast, 1,000 times faster than the hand can move. So if I use 1,000 times the speed, I can use 1,000th of the weight to get the same force. So this, with the high mass, we call that the bus technique. My instrument, we call it the bullet technique. Now don't get all wrapped up in these words. These adjustments are almost always painless to the client. I'm illustrating the point as Jesus did in parables. Okay, we tell a story or we paint a picture so you can grasp the idea. Well, which one works better, Dr. Mark? I mean, which one is the better way to go? The short answer is they both work, and usually chiropractors work on their clients the way that they like to be worked on. Okay, so there's no better. Okay, they both work. All of the chiropractors are looking for subluxation. They're looking to correct them. Oftentimes there's a time frame involved. You wouldn't go to the orthodontist and tell the doc, oh, I feel like getting my teeth straight in a day. He would laugh at you and he'd say, come on, it takes 18 months to get things right. Now with chiropractors, normally it's not 18 months, but just as the gums have got to be held in place, or the teeth have got to be held in place by the gums, so do the bones have to be put in place and held in place by the soft tissue. So that's why there's usually a process of correction. Okay? This is Dr. Marcus at Phoenix Chiropractic. We'll see you next video.